Honestly, this is, hard to talk about because it brings back a lot of really dark memories. And I debated whether to even bring this up, but I know that my story may help somebody out there. And if it helps at least just one person, I'm gonna tell my story.
What is up, everyone? I'm your host, Alanized, and this is Noche de Pendejadas, your favorite talk show turned podcast en donde yo traigo a tus influencers favoritos para platicar y posiblemente sacarles sus trapitos al sol. Please help me welcome my guests tonight, Kim and Vinny!
Sáquenla Hypnotic. También la Don Julio 70.
How are you guys?
Doing amazing.
So good.
I am so excited to have you guys here. Llegaron de Texas, ¿qué? ¿El Thursday o el viernes?
Thursday.
How has it been? How has the Ricky Ricón tour been so far? ¿Cómo se la han estado pasando? Cuéntenos un poquito más de eso.
Yeah, no, it's been amazing. Honestly, all the people that we've met, they've been so nice. We met Shadi Bay, Wilito, Jose Bay, Isaac, all of them. They were so nice to us. Honestly, we might even move to LA now.
Es una plática que tenemos pendiente later on the interview, you guys. Ayer fueron a Disneylandia, estaba lloviendo. How was that?
It was good, but really cold. I was like, let's go back home, or si no, I'm gonna lose my voice. So let's go back.
Eran como las 7 de la noche, you guys, y ya estaban ustedes de regreso al hotel. So I feel like you guys had a little bit of enjoyment, pero siento como que la lluvia la cagó.
Yeah.
Right? Because I feel like I've never been to Disney when it's raining, because I feel like for me it's like una... Well, you know what? I really don't go to Disney a lot. I used to have my Disney pass for years. And I would go maybe once or twice a year, nomás cuando se alborotaban mis friends. But I feel like because I live here, to me, it's not a big deal. Pero para ustedes era su primera vez, ¿no?
Yeah, our first time in Disneyland. It was a lot of fun. We loved it.
Have you guys gone to the one in Orlando?
Sí.
How's that?
It's way bigger. We took my little sisters for the first time 2 months ago, so it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
I think the Orlando one is better.
Have you gone?
I've gone once.
Okay.
But only to the main park, porque sé que tienen como diferentes
There's
parques
5
allá.
parks.
Yeah, they have 5 aquí en California, amigas. Nomás tenemos 2 que viene siendo California Adventures and then the Disneyland one.
Yeah.
But I've been wanting to go to the Orlando one porque tienen the new Moana one. Donde está la estrota bien bonita. Pero sí, amigas, aquí los tenemos. I am so excited to have them here today porque yo sé que ustedes allá en casita también van a querer conocerlos un poquito más y pues yo más, ¿verdad? I actually found you guys through my boyfriend.
No way,
wow.
Danny.
I swear to
Shout out
God,
to Danny.
my boyfriend discovered you guys around the same time. You know what's funny? I think I had seen you guys on my For You page maybe once, but you know when you're just kind of scrolling, I didn't think much of it, and then me acuerdo que estaba buscando, this was maybe 2 months ago, cuando te empecé a seguir a ti, because I know I followed a Kim first. My boyfriend was like, babe, you should have Kim and Vinny, they're so funny, their videos are so hilarious, and I followed you, and then I was like, you know what, me los voy a traer, y pues aquí estamos. Antes de que empecemos con el chisme, amiga, I'm gonna go ahead y pasarles el micrófono a ellos para que nos digan un poquito más de quién son y qué hacen.
Hi guys, my name is Kim. I'm so excited to be here, first of all. And I'm 25 years old, and last year actually I got laid off of my tech job, and that's when I decided to go all in on social media. And I do a little bit of everything. I do fashion, beauty, and then a lot of people love our relationships, so that's what we've been doing a lot, just comedy, couple stuff. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
I'm Vinny. I'm 25. I am Kim's husband. And right now I actually have a full-time job. I work in tech, and then I also do social media.
Yo ya voy a empezar con el chisme. Hoy tenemos un episodio súper largo, pero uno de los buenos. I was literally telling Kim and Vinny that this is actually... Si ustedes no saben, I actually have my preguntas aquí como en un little document. This is the most pages I have had for an interview, which is a great thing. Kim was like, should we recortarle? Should we take some things? I was like, no, mi amor. Se va a hacer lo que vamos a hablar porque tenemos muchos temas súper chidos, amigas. So vamos a empezar con el primer tema, right? Obviously, you guys are a couple, but you guys obviously grew up differently. So I want to get to know you guys at first individually before we get to know you guys as a couple. So vamos a empezar con Kim. Primero las mujeres. ¿Cómo era Kim growing up? ¿Cómo fue tu infancia, amiga? Cuéntanos.
So I was born in the United States, but as soon as I was a little baby, I grew up in Mexico. So I was 7 years old when we decided to come to the United States. So toda mi vida fue en Mexico. But to me, I was always a really outgoing little girl. Yo no tenía pena, like the move wasn't hard at all for me. I remember starting second grade y yo nada más hablaba español and I would go up to people and be like, ¿Quieres ser mi amiga? Like I had no shy bone in my body. I absolutely loved it. I think the hard part was probably my family dynamic. So actually before I was born, my dad was a cholo. And then once I was born, apparently he turned into a Christian. He became a pastor. So I kind of grew up in like as a pastor's daughter. And I feel like maybe he struggled a little bit like with that change of lifestyle. And we kind of got the, like the bad side of it, like dealing with his life change. And I remember like no le podía hablar a mi papá about anything. Like he just seemed annoyed with us all the time. Like I would try to like anything from school, you know, like bring up anything or like, oh, can you help me with this project? Algo chiquito. Pero él como que he didn't want anything to do with me. And it's me and my 4 sisters, so it's 5 girls. And I knew he always wanted a son. So I feel like I kind of took on that role. Like yo era muy tomboy. Like I kind of wanted to be my dad's like, I guess daddy's girl in a way, but like try to be the boy in that sense. So I was very tomboy as a little kid. And yeah, aside from that, it was good. I guess that's just relationship.
Did that affect, you know, growing up sin tener the support or just, you know, like a relationship with your dad? Did that affect you in any way growing up?
See, I felt like for some reason my mom has always been there, but I always searched for my dad. Like I've always wanted his approval. I always wanted him to support me. And so that was kind of hard to not get that, you know, and yeah.
I feel like that's very common though, you know, like I obviously grew up with my parents también together, pero yo también nunca tuve una relación con mi papá. Like growing up, I always felt like he hated me, you know, like, pues como niño como que uno de niños empieza a poner cosas en sus cabezas because vemos cómo trata a los hermanos, vemos cómo trata a otras personas. So I feel like it's very, very common for us to always feel like, oh, my dad doesn't love me, my dad this. Did you ever, you know, get to the point where like you felt not loved by him completely?
Yeah, 100%. I think that I just felt like he wanted nothing to do with me. Like, and he kind of didn't want to be with our family at one point, but at the end of the day, I know he was struggling with his own things. I definitely took it personal. I was like, why does my dad not like me? And as I grew older now, luckily we have a good relationship. So I've kind of learned que también él, like he had a rough childhood, so he never knew like how to connect with me when I was growing up. But yeah, it was definitely hard growing up.
I feel like that's the thing, to accept the fact that que también nuestros papás están viviendo su vida por primera vez. Literally, ¿qué día fue? El sábado. Tuve like a little comida for my birthday, you know, and I was literally ya borracho. También mi mamá y mi papá estábamos borracho. And we were kind of just talking about like our childhood. Y me acuerdo that he was literally sitting down like in the comedor y estaba llorando. Because my dad, I feel like now as an adult, como que ya siente todos los errores que hizo. Like, ya lo siente, you know what I mean? And me as an adult, I tried to like understand like where he was coming from when I was a child. Y yo siento como que ahora de adulto, como dices tú, yo ya aprendí a perdonarlo porque digo, ¿sabes qué? Quiero perdonarlo por mí, no por él. What was that moment for you where you were like, you know what? Like, even though my dad wasn't present, like, todavía quiero que sepa que lo quiero y que lo perdono.
Yeah, I think especially when I got close with God, like, I kind of had more compassion for people, and especially my dad, like, even though I wanted to hate him and I was like, he ruined my childhood, era bien machista, you know, I was like, he's just a person and it's his first time living. So I feel like I had a lot of love and forgiveness towards him. And I feel like that's what's allowed us to have a good relationship now.
Me estabas contando que a los 13 años tus papás se divorciaron. ¿Cómo fue eso para ti? ¿Cómo te diste cuenta de que tus papás iban a divorciar? Did they have like a convo with you where like, mija, mira, eso está pasando, tus papás ya no van a estar juntos? ¿Cómo fue eso para ti?
So I feel like as a girl, like I told you, I was not shy. I was very outgoing. So I was very innocent. I didn't think like anybody was a bad person. And so I never even thought my parents would get divorced. Like seeing how our family was, I was like, oh, this is how every family is, you know? Like everybody struggles with their relationship with their dad and how he is with the family. Pero ya por fin un día, we lived in Georgia and my family decided to move to Austin. And it was a little weird. I didn't know why we were moving. Y ya cuando estábamos in Austin, my parents, I don't even think they had a talk with us. They just kind of like one day, my mom was like, we're going to move to this house and your dad's not going to be with us anymore. And yeah, I remember it was very hard for me, even though I didn't have a close relationship with my dad. Like I remember que nos dejó ya la última vez when he helped us move to the other house. And that's the first time I ever saw my dad cry. And he just like looked at us and cried. And I was just like, I remember thinking, I was like, pero por qué now? Why is he showing feeling if he's had all these years with us, you know? But yeah, that was the first time I saw my dad cry. And that's how we found out about
Se
the
te
divorce.
dijo a ti as you grew up, did you ever find out like why they got divorced, or was it just kind of like a tema que nunca se tocó?
See, so finally, I think when I was a little bit more mature to understand, maybe like 15 or 16, I found out que mi papá did cheat on my mom, so that's why they had divorced. I felt like in that time I tried to hate my dad for that, you know? Porque yo pensaba que nada más se divorciaron por cosas chiquitas, like I would see them arguing, pero no sabía que he had hurt my mom to that extent. And I tried to hate my dad, and I remember my mom, she's literally an angel, y ella me decía como, we're not here to judge, like we're here to love others. And I was like, if my mom's not even hating my dad por esto, like how am I gonna hate him, you know? And she would be like, at the end of the day, es tu papá. So I feel like we've always had love and compassion towards him, so... Yeah.
Como a los 13, 14 años cuando se movieron para Texas, ¿ya tu papá no estaba mucho en tu vida? At that point, how was that growing up? Obviously, your dad was already absent, you know, prior, but now actually not having him there physically, did that affect you in any way?
See, I think that's when finally something turned in my mind, and I kind of turned into like a rebel. Like, I don't know, I wanted to go against my mom, and obviously I didn't have my dad there, so no me importaba like lo que decía nadie en la casa. I didn't care what anybody had to say. So I kind of started hanging out with the wrong crowd. And I wasn't even allowed to have a boyfriend. So this is what when I was talking to Vinny. But yeah, it was just kind of like going against my parents, and no me importaba since they were divorced. I was like, ¿qué me van a hacer? And I remember my mom would like tell me like, te vas a ir con tu papá si no te calmas. But I honestly didn't care at that point.
You're like, y no me calmé.
You're like, mándame.
También me estabas contando que a los 14 años you actually ran away. You know, you ran from Texas to Georgia. ¿Cómo fue eso? ¿Cómo te decides tú a los 14 años decir, ¿sabes qué? Ya estoy harta de aquí, me voy a Georgia.
So I miss Georgia a lot because all of my friends were there. That's where I grew up since I was a little kid. Y my mom decided that we were moving back to Georgia, pero yo ya no me quería esperar. And I was like, yo ya me voy a ir ahorita. And I kind of took advantage of them being divorced. Y un día le llamé a mi papá, and I was like, hey, I want to go to Georgia for my birthday. And he was like, well, talk to your mom and see what she says. And I was like, oh, no, sí, dijo que sí, mi mamá. So, and then he's like, okay, está bien. Y yo, I was crazy in this time. I went into my mom's phone y le cambié el número de mi papá so they couldn't contact each other.
Oh,
Sí, and
para
so
que tu mamá pensara, oh, no me está respondiendo por whatever other
sí, por si
reason.
le pregunta algo, mi papá le mensajea. I changed the numbers on both of theirs so they couldn't contact each
La
other.
Kim, bien lista.
That was smart. That was smart.
That is smart, yeah.
And then un día mi mamá was at a family party, so I called my dad and I was just like, I'm ready. Y agarré mi maleta that's like the size of me, and I packed all my things in, and I was like, ya estoy lista, and me recogió, and he took me to a Greyhound bus like station, and we bought a ticket. I don't know, I wasn't thinking in that moment, like, yo bien feliz, like, I wasn't thinking, like, what are the consequences of this? And my dad tampoco, él, like, pensando que mi mamá was okay with this. So he bought me my ticket, I got on the bus, and I remember just, like, waving bye to him in the window, and then he was just like, bye. And then at the time, I didn't even have a phone because I was so little, like, I was literally a baby.
Who were you going to meet up with?
Me?
I was going to go back. Sí.
Really? Oh, so you were going to stay with him?
No, mi best friend.
Oh, okay,
sí, but
okay,
I wanted
okay.
to see him. That was a little bit of the reason why también. Sí, but I was so young that I didn't have a phone, so I had my iPod, y después teníamos una conexión in Houston. So I remember I got to the Houston bus stop, and that's where I checked I even had like a little text app donde pagabas por los minutos.
Like text now?
Sí.
Yeah.
And I had a million missed calls from my mom, my sisters, y me decían, if you don't respond, we're going to send an Amber Alert on you, like, you need to come home now. And I was in Houston, right? That's close to Austin. So I was like, should I go back? And I was like, no, let's keep this going. Like, let's see this through. And luckily, I made a friend at the bus stop. Tenía ella 25 años at the time. I was 14. Y ella me preguntó como que, oh, what's going on? I think she saw me bien chiquita. Y como que ella, she was like, what's going on? And I was like, oh, I'm running away. Nada más le dije así. Like,
bien casual, like, I'm leaving my old life behind.
Bien dramática, like I'm in a movie. And I was just like, I'm running away. And I think she saw like the situation that was going on. And she would like, kind of took me under her wing the whole trip. Y me quedé con ella porque íbamos a parar in Atlanta. And she's like, I'm actually stopping in Atlanta. Like, let's stay together the whole time. So I honestly feel like that was God.
No, I say it was God honestly protecting you, because I mean,
that's
who knows?
scary,
who knows? It could have been like a guy,
Sí.
an old, like, you don't know what could have happened. So.
¿Y cómo se dio cuenta tu mamá? Obviamente les habías cambiado los números. How did she find out que te habías ido?
When she got home from the party, vio que mi cuarto estaba completely empty, a mess. Me llevé toda mi ropa. And she obviously knew que iba para atrás para mi hometown. And I got to my hometown y me quedé con mi mejor amiga. And I was planning to see Vinny the next day. Pero me desperté y estaba my best friend's mom, like, en el teléfono. Aquí está Kim enfrente de mí. Like, ya diciéndole a mi mamá. And I was like...
And they went to go pick you up after, ¿o qué pasó
Sí, my
después de
sister
eso?
still lived in that hometown, so me recogió mi hermana. I regret that so much porque de veras it ruined me and my mom's relationship probably for the next 5 years, 5 to 6 years. My entire high school, like I had a really bad relationship with my mom because of that. That was the biggest like mistake that I ever did. Y nada más, I didn't even think about it in the moment. I just did it.
How do you feel like it ruined your guys' relationship? Do you feel like it got you guys distant, or was it more she didn't trust you, or qué fue lo que pasó ahí?
See, it broke our trust completely. Like I couldn't even go to the football games. Like para school, nada más era para la escuela y para atrás para la casa. Like they obviously that's something big to leave like another state, you know. So it definitely broke me and my mom's trust.
I can't relate. I've never ran away. Pero my sister-in-law, and I'm talking about this because we've talked about it publicly, pero ella in high school también, casi igual que tú, obviamente tú tenías otras razones. I think she was like 15. No, when would you graduate high school?
Like 17,
16, ya estaba como de esa edad. Ella tenía un novio, and at this time su novio was homeless. So me acuerdo que mi cuñada, she would sneak in el novio cada noche. Cada noche lo metía a la casa until one day, months later, después de tanto like noise que escuchaba mi suegra in the middle of the night or whatever, los cacharon, and ella enojada ran away with him to Utah. Well, before she ran away to Utah, they were homeless for like a month, viviendo en el carro, güey. Y luego después de eso regresaron y se fueron a Utah sin decirle a nadie. And now when she looks back at what she did, nos cuenta que obviamente like she was thinking as a niña, like she wasn't really thinking as an adult. Do you feel like now tú como adulta sientes como de que now when you look back at it, you're like, wait, ¿qué estaba haciendo? Like I was a whole ass child. What's your thought process now as an adult when you think back at that?
No, 100%. Even when I look back at it, they say that you kind of block out traumatic events.
Yeah.
I don't remember like what my thought process was during that time. Like I was just like, it was so easy for me in that moment. Like, no me va a pasar nada. Like, I'm good. But looking back now, seeing everything that happens in this world, like, I don't know how I did that. And now I understand, like, why my mom was so hard on me, you know, after. Y también mi papá, like, I remember he wasn't even mad. Like, me llamó and he was like, why'd you do that? Yeah. And, like, so that kind of shows the relationship that we had at that time. Like, he didn't really care, like, that deep, it seemed like, for what could have happened to me. Like, nada más le importó, like, ¿por qué me hiciste eso? Like, you know.
Like, why'd you do it to me?
Sí, ¿por qué me gastaste el dinero?
It's like, te podían haber robado a tu hija. Like the $40 for the fucking bus. The bus fare. That's crazy. Do you feel like, obviamente nos cuentas de que after that, your relationship with your mom kind of got rocky for a couple years? Was there a moment where you felt like, you know, your mom started trusting you a little bit more? Pasó algo to where you felt like your guys' relationship started getting better?
No, I think my entire high school, I was still kind of in that stage of like going against my family por el divorcio. En el momento, I didn't think it was because of the divorce, but now that I look back at it, I'm like, maybe I was affected by the divorce in some way. But I would kind of go against them, like being with Vinny, that was also against, like, they didn't want me to have a boyfriend in high school, and I was hanging out with my friends.
And I feel like that happens a lot too. You know, it's great that you mention it, that at the time maybe you didn't see it as, you know, the divorce affecting you, but I feel like it happens a lot where parents no se dan cuenta que lo que pasa en casa en verdad se afecta al hijo, you know, o a la hija, y eso es lo que pasó contigo, you know. So, obviamente pasó eso. You go back to school. How was your high school years? Like, were you peleonera? Obviamente era rebelde, but were you like rebelde quiet or like rebelde loud?
I was rebelde loud, basically, and I actually got into a fight with a girl. I only got into one fight.
Okay,
only one fight.
Pero mi mamá también se dio cuenta. So my mom, it's a very small town, so mi mamá se da cuenta de todo. As soon as I got into the fight, I got home, and my mom's like, alguien me llamó que te peleaste. And I had a black eye porque the girl beat me.
Like, you couldn't even lie. Oh, she beat you?
She was way bigger than me. Yo estaba bien chiquita, pero bien, like, confident,
Te traía como mapeador. Literally. Wait, why did you guys get down?
Basically, she was my best friend in 8th grade. Y cuando nos movimos para Austin, me and Vinny broke up, and she started talking with Vinny. Yeah, and I was like, vas a ver cuando llegue, te voy a agarrar.
¿Y al Vinny no le pasó nada?
No.
I was just watching.
I regret it now.
Recording it.
Now that I look back, I regret even fighting her, you know, like, it was just so dumb.
I feel like it's very, like, chamaquilla things to do, you know what I mean? Like, cuando estás en esa edad, no piensas, like, wait, peleate con él, no con él. Pero también ella, because she was your best friend.
That's why I took it so much to heart, because she was my best friend. Yeah.
Like, she was probably eyeing him the whole time you guys were together, nomás esperando que te fueras. Ella, she was probably telling your mom, muévanse, quítense de aquí. So, obviamente, pudimos conocerte un poquito más de tu infancia. Ahora, Vinny, cuéntanos cómo fue tu infancia. How was Vinny growing up?
I was actually born in Guanajuato, and I lived there till I was 3. And then at 3, my dad actually lived in the U.S., So he decided to move us with him. And actually, my mom, you know, we didn't have anything in Mexico. We were dirt poor. We lived in a little rancho. We had nothing. Like, they were desperate for a better life for us, for my brother, for my sister. And so they decided to move us to the U.S. Actually, we got caught the first time trying to cross. And they sent us back. And just being so desperate, like, my dad had spent all his money on trying to get us across the border.
Like the coyotes and everything.
So that same night, we tried again. And we actually got through that successfully. So we ended up settling down in Georgia, where I spent most of my childhood. But I was actually kind of like the opposite of Kim. I was a shy kid. I didn't talk to many people. I was timid. I was like self-conscious a lot. And I think that was a lot because, you know, of my immigration status. We were illegal. I didn't get papers till I was like 8 or 9. But yeah, I mean, it took a toll definitely on my how I interacted with people and how I was at school.
Te viniste a los 3 años. Do you feel like you remember any of the process? Obviamente, a lot of people... Te lo pregunto porque yo me acuerdo muchas cosas también que pasé de muy chiquito que a veces dices, how the fuck do you remember? But a lot of it is trauma. You know, whatever happens to you that caused a lot of trauma, como que lo recuerdas. Was that a thing for you?
Yeah, so I don't specifically remember crossing, but I remember like growing up, seeing all the kids at school, like they had the nicer clothes. We were going to the Salvation Army to get our clothes, Goodwill, like wherever we could. You know, hand-me-downs, whatever. My brother and sister actually kind of suffered more because they came in here not knowing English. And so they would go to school, had ESL classes, and I kind of went into school already knowing a little bit of English, so it was a little bit easier for me. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty tough growing up, just seeing all those kind of changes around
They're
me.
older, right?
Yeah, they're older.
¿Con cuántos años te ganan?
So my older brother, he's 30 and my sister's 28.
And you're 25.
25.
Okay, so te ganan como con 3, 4 años. And I feel like that's where it becomes more difficult because tú llegas aquí a los 3 años, obviamente you grow up and you start picking up, you know, it's almost like a smoother adjustment as opposed to someone que ya viene como en el primer grado, segundo grado. Do you feel like even though you came so young and it was a little easier to adjust, do you feel like you still had complications adjusting?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, because honestly, as a little kid, I was aware. Like my mom, I would see when she was driving, like she was scared. Like if the police was behind us, like she was alert, and I could read that. And I would always just like be like, "No, mom, we don't have to go out. Like let my dad go out," or like just stuff like that. Like as a kid, it's kind of like traumatic. Because I felt like I was always on alert and just kind of looking behind my shoulder. I definitely did struggle, you know, with the language barrier as well. It was just. I didn't know perfect English, so my words were like muchas. And they could tell, you know, that was just another thing to kind of distinguish me from like everybody else. And so that was a part of it. And then just, again, like what I was wearing, how I was acting, like everybody could tell that it was different. Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, something that I can relate is because yo también crecí, you know, being undocumented in the States. And I feel like el trauma, even the word la migra, you know, we throw it out there as jokes. Kids throw it out there, you know, growing up, you would hear like, la migra, escóndense. But like when you're actually living that reality, it's like, wait, ¿en dónde? It does get scary and it does get traumatizing que uno crece con el miedo a la migra. You know, gracias a Dios ahora yo ya tengo DACA, tengo mi permiso, que no tengo miedo que hasta si me pasa un migra frente a mí, yo lo saludo. But before, like, I remember back in the day, me acuerdo que my mom or like everybody would be like, hay un retén en esta esquina, no salgan. O los retenes. I feel like you still see retenes often, but I feel like back then, especially because, you know, we're all like first gen, like our families are coming here for a better future, como que lo sentíamos más y nos daba más miedo. So ya que conocimos un poquito más de su infancia, yo quiero saber un poquito más de ustedes. Obviamente ustedes se conocen por primera vez a los 12 años. You know, nos estaba contando Kim that she was running away to see Vinny. ¿Cómo empezó esta pinche historia de amor, amigas? ¿Cómo se conocieron? How did you guys make it official the first time at 12? Cuéntanos un poquito más de eso.
Okay, so we met in 7th grade, and I was always very outgoing little girl, so a mí no me daba pena. I was sitting in lunch, y vi a un muchacho bien guapo walk by, and I told my friend, I was like, do you know who that is? And she was like, no, I have no idea. And I saw him around some mutual friends that I knew, so I started asking around. I was like, ¿cómo se llama ese guy? Like, I'm really interested. And one of my close friends, he was like, oh, se llama Vinny, and this and that. And I was like, okay. Y por un mes, I was so shy. That part, I did get shy a little bit to talk to him. So I would just watch him from afar, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's so cute. Y después, one day we had a talent show at school, and so I told his friend, we kind of had the same mutual friends. It's a very very small town, so it was a small high school. So I kind of told one of his friends, like, oh, ask him if he wants to sit with me at the talent show. And
I specifically remember that day, honestly, them coming up to me and be like, hey, this girl wants you to go to the talent show with her. And I was like, who? They're like, Kim. And I had seen her in the halls, but again, I was like a really shy kid. So I would never like go up to you or anything like that. I was like, yeah, I'm down. Like, and I was literally so nervous. I don't even know what took over me that I said yes. But yeah, we ended up going together. And we're sitting there at the talent show. Her friend group is on that side. My friend group's on this side. And they're kind of just like...
They're all seeing, is he going to make a move? Did that happen? I swear to God, it could have happened because we're kids at the time.
They were taking pictures and everything.
Taking pictures. They were like telling me to hold her hand. So I held her hand. And then I was just like, would you like to be my girlfriend? I don't know.
We never talked.
Yeah,
we have
that was
never
the first
talked.
Like first day. Ya rápido, él en calienta, lo que vino, vino.
I honestly like blacked out. I don't know what took over me. And yeah, she said yes. And yeah, we started dating.
Y así empezó. Obviamente, estamos hablando de una relación de niños. Do you guys feel like it quickly became anything more serious?
Ever since the very beginning, we've had a connection towards each other. Como he was very shy, I was very talkative. And I remember no hablábamos para nada. Like, we'd be walking the hallways y yo siempre like talking his ear off. And I was just like, you don't like to talk, huh? And he was like, no, I'm more quiet. And I was like, okay. And we were just like, pero así. And then we would like go home and like message on Kik or something, you know?
So en la escuela casi no se hablaban, no platicaban mucho, era más through Kik cuando llegaban a la casa.
Sí.
I feel like that's when like the shyness goes away, porque no estás en persona and you're like, le puedo decir que la quiero, la amo, pero en persona te da mucho shyness.
No, in text I was like, I love you, you're my baby girl.
I can't wait to see you tomorrow to kiss you. Viene mañana y ni te pela, güey, like literal. That happens a lot, you know. You guys dated for how long during you guys middle school? That was middle school?
Yeah, that was
a few months, right? 6 months?
6 months, because then that's when she moved to Austin. That's when her parents were going through the divorce and everything. So
and it was crazy because I remember like I would ask Vinny, I was like, oh, like how many girlfriends have you had? I was like, he asked me right away, you know, he's like experienced, he knows. And he was like, oh, I've had one girlfriend before. So I was like, okay. Pero ya después, like a few months later, he was like, I've actually never had a girlfriend. Like I've never kissed anybody. And I was just like,
yeah, she was my first kiss, my first girlfriend, like everything.
Same
So obviamente you guys break up after the 6 months. Te mueves to Texas. Did you guys still have communication, or was it kind of like cold turkey, like we broken up?
Yeah, we talked some, and I remember talking to her through like the divorce and everything that's going on. She would tell me like she's hanging out with this friend group and trying to do these things, and I was like, I don't know if that's the best thing. And yeah, we ended up kind of just like drifting apart because I thought I was never gonna see her again.
Obviamente you guys were still in communication while you were dealing with the divorce and running away. Obviamente, como nos platicó. Once you came back to Georgia, did you guys, you know, start talking again, or like did you guys rekindle the relationship?
Yeah, so I actually saw her at my little brother's elementary school, like first day. I took him to school and she was there. And I remember looking at her and I was like, what are you doing here? And she's like, I'm back. And then we started messaging after that, and yeah, we started dating again.
How did you guys make it official that second time? ¿No te preguntó the same day también? Or did you do something better this time? You're like, no, he texted me this time around.
No, I remember it was something cringy. Like I got a little teddy bear and I made a poster.
That's not cringy. That's cuter.
Yeah.
Back in high school, it was a big deal.
It was a good thing. Para los que no saben su historia, you guys dated throughout middle school, high school, and then at one point you guys break up. And after this breakup, you guys have 2 years of no contact. ¿Qué fue lo que pasó ahí? Do you guys feel like you guys broke up because the relationship was toxic? Or was it just more like we're too young, like it's not what we want type of thing?
I think it was a little bit of both. We were definitely very young to be in that relationship. And I feel like we both kind of were very into each other where it got toxic, you know, like in that age, you're so young and emotions are very high. Y todo es muy, like, very dramatic. So I feel like we were very toxic towards each other. Like, no puedes hablar con nadie más. Like, if I saw, like, even a girl say hi to him or something, like, me enojaba.
Yeah, I specifically remember it was the first day of school in, like, 9th grade. And a girl came up to me and hugged me. He's like, oh, hey, like, how's your summer? And everything. And Kim did not talk to me for a week. It was, yeah, me dejó.
Sí, we were very toxic. Y después Vinny, like, teníamos Instagram back then, y siempre me decía como que follow every single guy on your list. No quiero ver ningún guy name. And I was just like,
me vale si es tu primo, tu tío, tu hermano. Like, unfollow everyone. Was he toxic too?
Sí, very
like,
toxic.
Who was more toxic, you guys think, growing up?
I think it was honestly like back and forth.
Mutual.
Like she would go
share.
and then I would go, and it would just, that's where it got like really toxic, like back and forth. And it just got to a point where I was like, and this is enough. Like,
so we'd get like very dramatic. Like it would be small fights, obviously, but then it would be like almost breaking up, like us crying. And it's like in that moment of your life in high school, everything is like magnified, verdad? Like everything, like it's the end of my life. I don't want to be with anybody else. And so we would go through that toxic cycle of getting back with each other and then just like keep on doing it.
It was like a breakup and then get back together. Break up, get back together. ¿Qué fue el punto where you guys were like, ya, hasta aquí llegó esta relación. We're not getting back after this time. Did you guys have like a dramatic like thing that happened that you guys finally called it quits?
Yeah, so we had a pretty big fight. I don't even remember what it was for, but it got to the point where I was like, you know, you're not breaking up with me. And I had like some melatonin or some Advil or something. And I was like, if you break up with me, me la va a tomar toda.
Yeah, it got very dramatic.
Yeah.
And I remember it was like, I felt like we were always in like in a movie. And then I slapped the pills out of his hand. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, what
it's all sleeping gummies. It's all his vitamins.
Yeah, vitaminas. I don't remember what it was, but I just remember I was like, what are we doing? Like, this is getting really bad. And
we were babies. Like, teníamos como 16 años.
Who called it quits that time?
I did, yeah.
I did.
What was your thought process though? Like you're like, I'm done. Hasta aquí llegó.
Yeah, it was just like we were arguing every single day over like everything. And I reached a point where I was like, this is enough. We need to, you know, split up, go our separate ways. And that was it. Yeah, we called it in like December of sophomore year.
Because we also didn't have, like, we left all of our friend group.
Yeah, it was just us. Like, we were that couple in the corner of the lunchroom, like, with their noses together. Like, it was bad.
Like, you guys had no friends other than
we had friends before, but then, like, because we had the same friend group, pero los dejamos. Like, it was like me and you forever, Romeo and Juliet
against
style.
the world. Yeah. How is that? Obviamente, you know, you guys break up and you guys drifted all your friends away. Was it hard to overcome, you know, the relationship being over?
Yeah, I think she took it a little bit better than I did. I started hanging out with the wrong people, started doing things that I never thought I was going to do. And it honestly led to like the most traumatic thing that I've ever experienced. And it gets a little serious, but how would you?
I think for me, it was very hard, but para mí, I took the breakup right away. And I think that happens often, no? After a breakup, the girl is the one that kind of like takes all the emotions, is very sad, y el guy como que being all crazy with his friends. And so I feel like after like maybe about 6 months, I was okay. And I had my little friend group that was very supportive of me. I was just kind of on the outside looking in, seeing everything that Vinny was going through. But yeah, to me, I was like, I feel like I always loved Vinny.
But just from afar during this time. You know,
and I was like, maybe it's best that we're away right now.
Nos cuentas un poquito about how it started getting dark for you. During these 2 years que no tuvieron comunicación, obviamente pasaron muchas cosas. You know, you had a drug addiction during this time. Cuéntanos un poquito más de eso y cómo empezó esa adicción or how you caught yourself in that situation.
Honestly, this is, you know, hard to talk about because it brings back a lot of really dark memories. And I debated whether to even bring this up, but I know that my story may help somebody out there. And if it helps at least just one person, like, I'm going to tell my story.
Yeah.
So, yeah, after we broke up, I started hanging out with people. Like, growing up, I was always the kid that was like, oh, I'm never going to smoke. I'm never going to drink. And I was, you know, smart. I was in AP classes and did all like everything. I was really wanted to focus on school. I started hanging out with, you know, the wrong people. Started smoking, and then it got progressively worse. You know, they started like taking acid, Molly, and then what really was like did it for me was we started taking Xanax.
At what age?
So I was 16. At the time.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. At first it started like the cool thing to do. This was when Little Xan was like popping and all that. He's like the rapper, if y'all don't know him. But yeah, we started like, you know, once a day, once every now and then, just like at parties and stuff. And then it started going into 2 or like 3 and then 4. And so I was addicted. Yeah. After about 6-8 months, I started, you know, missing classes. I started, my relationship with my family got really bad. My mom started noticing. She was like, hijo, ¿qué estás haciendo? Llegas tarde. Like, I'd be coming home late, like 1, 2 a.m. Like the days also started getting really mixed in together. Like Xanax makes you forget a lot of things. And so I was like forgetting all these things, all these due dates, all these important moments. Like my little brother's birthday, I had no idea it was even that. Like it was just a bunch of things that were happening.
A big part of, your feeling better or your healing journey is accepting that you had a problem.
Yeah.
What was that moment for you donde tú te dices cuenta, like, wait, esto no es normal, what I'm going through isn't something that someone my age should be going through? What was that moment for you that you realized that you had a problem?
Yeah, so I specifically remember it was a night that we went to a party with my friends. We had all taken them, and my mom kept texting me. She's like, ¿Dónde estás, hijo? Ya es tarde. Ya vente para la casa. And I was like, I gotta go. I told my friend, I gotta go. Give me the keys. And I'm just gonna sleep in the car. And then he gave me the keys. I actually drove his car on like 2 or 3 Xanax and ended up hitting a curb and demolishing his car. And I was just on the rim driving for like a mile to get to his house where I picked up my truck. Y gracias a Dios llegué a mi casa like with nothing happening. But yeah, the cops were called. They were knocking on my door at 2 a.m. like, hey, where were you at this time? Was this you? They were showing pictures of the car and it was totaled. And, I was still on the drugs. So I was like, no, that's not me. That's not me. And yeah, the next day my mom wakes up and my friend's mom called and my mom was like, hey, you're lucky I didn't press charges. We know that this was Vinny. Like, we could have sent him to jail and all this. You're gonna have to pay for all these damages. And my mom like didn't have the money. She started bawling and like coming to me like, ¿Qué está pasando, hijo? Like, we need to get you help. That's like when I knew. I was like, what am I doing?
Did you feel like you had the support of your parents during this time?
Yeah, my mom was always there. She was always there since like it started. She could tell because I was always close to my mom. Yeah. And when this happened, when all this was happening, I started drifting away from her. Like, I wouldn't talk to them. I would be really cold to my little brother, to my sister, to my other brother. Like, just completely different person, 180 from who I was before. And Kim was seeing this on the outside as well. So
you were still like in his life, but not really, like you were seeing everything go down? ¿O te decían los chismes? ¿O te decía la gente lo que estaba pasando?
Since we shared that same friend group, I had no contact with Vinny. Like, we didn't talk at all. Because he just turned very cold towards me too. Like, I remember the breakup didn't end that bad. Like, obviously we were like toxic towards each other, but it wasn't like any cheating or anything. And I remember this specifically. I would just be like laying down in my bed watching Netflix y después agarró una foto de Vinny just like flicking me off, like mandándome el dedo. And I was just like, but he had just had like a lot of hatred towards me. And I was like, what's going on? And all of my friends would tell me like, oh, Vinny was at this party and he's like taking these drugs and these drugs. And I remember like the Vinny that I knew, él me decía, I wouldn't even touch weed. Like, I don't even want anything of that. And we were on the same page about that all the time. And we like had the same values always. So to me, like seeing that was crazy. I couldn't believe it, pero sí lo veía en la escuela and he was just like very cold, very different.
Did the school ever like find out or figure out that you were on something at any time or any point?
Yeah, so this is actually when I got arrested. There was like talks of the school about like me having drugs and all these things. And actually the officer came into my class. I still remember it was AP statistics. I was in class and they're like, Vinny, come with us. And I had just, that weekend we had partied. So I had 2 Xanax in my backpack because I would take my backpack to parties and stuff. But I remember and they're like, come with us. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have the pills in my backpack. So I got them and I put them in my bottom lip and I went with them. And they started asking me questions like, hey, where were you this day? And ultimately they asked, can we search you? And at that point, I had got a tissue from on the table and I pretended to blow my nose and spit the Xanax in there and threw them away. So in my mind, I'm confident. I'm like, nothing's going to happen. Like, I'm
no
good.
van a encontrar nada.
Yeah, no van a encontrar nada.
Like, búsquenle.
Yeah, like, go ahead. And at this point, like I was in AP class, like I was like trying to go to college and all these things. So I would take what are called Adderall, which is like for ADHD basically. Yeah. So I would party on the weekends, take Adderall
to focus, to
get right for school, take tests, all that. And yeah, they ended up finding 2 Adderall in there that I totally forgot about. And yeah.
You didn't have a prescription?
I didn't have a prescription for it. They asked me, I was like, no, don't have one. They're like, okay, well, we're going to have to arrest you.
Y te arrestaron there?
Read me my rights and then handcuffed me. And it's actually like really embarrassing because I don't know, someone must have texted or something that this was happening. As I'm walking out, everybody's poking their heads out through the class like doorway.
Yeah.
And as he's walking me out to the car, to the police car, I look up and everybody's just looking through the window, watching me get arrested with their phones out.
Since this is a small town, like these are the people that we've grown up with since elementary. Like todas las familias se conocen, you know, like I can't even imagine that, you know?
Did that affect your reputation, you know, in your small town?
As far as my reputation, yeah, it was technically a felony. So I thought my life was over. At this time, I also had a baseball scholarship that I was going to go play baseball in college. That was my dream. And that got taken away. They took it from me. They didn't want any felon, you know, playing or being at that school. So yeah, I mean, my whole life just turned upside down, you know, like within that day.
How was it like, you know, they arrest you, take you to jail? ¿Cómo fue esa experiencia para ti?
They took me to jail, they processed me, and they gave me the one phone call. And of course, I called my mom. And yeah, I mean, that was honestly like just calling her, and I just hear her break down crying.
Yeah.
And I had to tell her, like, Mom, me encontraron con droga. And yeah, I honestly don't remember too much because I was still feeling like the effects of the Xanax that I had put in my lip. So I honestly I remember feeling still like no feelings at the time. Like looking now, like, yeah, I get emotional talking about it because I could just hear the voice, my mom just crying, and it was just, it's a lot. But yeah, at the time I felt nothing. And she's like, no te preocupes, ahorita vamos. And yeah, that was it. I went to jail and got out, and I still continued doing everything. Like I was
for 15 days.
Yeah, I was addicted. So,
wait, you were in jail for 15 days?
Yeah, I got sentenced to 15 days in jail. And
¿Cuántos años tenías en este tiempo?
I had just turned 18.
Oh, so they were charging you as an adult.
I had just turned 18, but I got a first offender, which after I finished my probation, it got cleared off my record. But yeah, the whole 6 months after that, I went even deeper into the addiction and started taking more pills. It got very dark. That was probably the only time that I've thought about, you know, suicide.
Yeah.
It's just tough to talk about.
It's okay.
But yeah, there was definitely moments where I would have them in my hand, and I was like, what if I would just take like 3 more?
Do you remember, like, you know, looking back during that time now, as, you know, you're sober, obviously now, looking back at everything you were going through, when you were going through those very dark moments that you felt like you wanted to end your life, was there a reason why you were doing these drugs? Like, were you going through anything in your life that you were using them more as to, like, make yourself feel emotionless?
Yeah, so like I said, I had a baseball scholarship that got taken away, and then I thought I was going to have a felony for the rest of my life. So I was like, my life's over. I'm never going to get a job. I'm basically, like, all my dreams had just been crushed. And at 18, like, my whole life felt like it got ripped apart. And my relationship with my family was even worse. I wouldn't talk to them. I wouldn't, like, go around them. They were always still there.
Yeah.
Like, I remember this is where my relationship with my dad actually flipped around. He actually broke down crying in front of me and was like, perdóname por no ser buen pa. And we had a deep conversation, and you know, similar conversations with my mom, my sister, everybody. And yeah, they're the reason, honestly, why I'm still here. She's the reason why I'm still here. So.
Do you feel like, you know, after those 6 months, what was the moment for you where you realized that the problem had gotten bigger than what it was? And the moment where you realized, like, I don't want to keep living like this for the rest of my life. Like, I want change. I want to be sober. I don't want to be on these drugs. Was there a moment for you like that?
Yeah, I honestly, like, in jail, I had a moment where I asked God, I was like, help me. I don't want to be this person. I don't belong here. And it just changed my heart. I went out. This is when I actually reached out to Kim. And, you know, like I said, she kind of knew of the situation. Well, everybody in the town knew about the situation. And this is actually when I reached out to her. And she was, thank God, she was like welcoming of me reaching out. And we ended up talking a little bit more after that.
Since we had the same friends, I knew that Vinny, like, everything that he was going through, he was at home. Like, he couldn't go out at all because of, like, all the legal stuff going on. And at the time I had a boyfriend. So I obviously felt bad for Vinny, but I was just like, I mean, like, he's been living this life and he's living the consequences. I felt so bad, but I didn't know what else to do. You know, I felt helpless. And then his friend kind of mentioned to me, he's like, oh, I was talking with Vinny last night on Xbox, and he said that he wanted to talk to you. And obviously, like, my curiosity kind of like went off, and I was just like, well, what does he even have to say? You know, we haven't talked in so long. Like, in my heart, like, I was like, Vinny hates me for no reason. Like, I don't know what I did, but Vinny hates me. And I actually added him on Snapchat first. And then as soon as I added him, like, you could see, like, the Vinny is typing. And I remember I was just like, what is going on? And he did send me, like, a long paragraph basically apologizing for everything. And he was like, he kind of told me, I'm even embarrassed to reach out, but I miss, like, my old life. I don't even know, like, who I am anymore. And that's when, like, I don't know, all the resentment that I had towards him, like, all the anger, it just completely fell. And I was like, what is going on? You know, like, this is so much more serious than any of us thought. Like, when I saw him at those parties where I would see him doing drugs, I thought it was just, like, Vinny being crazy, living that crazy life. But when that moment happened, I was like, wow, this is, like, something serious. And he wouldn't be reaching out to me if he wasn't desperate, you know, at that moment. Like, basically a cry for help. That's what I saw it as. And
was it scary for you to process that? Obviamente, you know, he's coming to you, someone you haven't spoken for 2 years, but obviously someone that you had so much love for. Was it scary for you to be like, oh shit? Like, te lo digo en la manera de que no te sentiste tú en ningún momento like, I can't help, or I felt, like you said, you felt helpless. As you were replying to him, like, was there ever moments donde tú te sentías como like, I can't continue helping him, like I don't know what I'm even doing, like I don't know how to help someone that's having these type of problems?
See, I think just in that moment I dropped everything that I knew. I kind of dropped my pride, and I was like, I don't care what I know. If he needs me there, I'm gonna be there for him. And like, my boyfriend at the time, like, I would tell him, I was like, I'm gonna be here for Vinny, like, he needs me right now. Y él como que, obviously it's high school, it's not that serious, so he was like, yeah, like, be there for him, because I knew it was that serious to a point where, like, I know how serious anxiety is, so I knew that everything was ripped apart from him. And my biggest fear was that he was going to do something to himself. So I was like, I don't care, like, what's happened in the past.
Like, I love this guy, or you had love for him, you know, from everything you guys had together. So obviamente te sentiste como en un momento de que si no estoy yo por ahí por él, lo voy a perder. Y no nomás yo, pero todos lo vamos a perder, you know. Obviamente, you guys start talking. Was it at first more like comunicación, just kind of like catching up, or him telling you? Or when did it start getting more like, oh, about us?
I think at first it started like, I didn't want to be with him because I knew he was still struggling with that. And I remember I didn't know much about addiction back then. So in my mind, I was like, if he really loved me, he would stop. If he really wanted to be with me again, he would stop. And I would find out, like, una vez estaba en su cuarto, y this is when me and him kind of started talking again. And I was like going through his hoodies because I was going to wear one. And the one I was going to wear, it had some Xanax in there. And me and his mom have always been really close, and we knew that he was struggling with this. So I called her down, and I was like, no sé qué hacer. Like, I don't know what else to do. And I remember being so hurt because it felt very personal. Like, I was like, oh, Vinny no ha cambiado. Like, no quiere estar conmigo.
No me quiere.
Sí, I was like, si de veras me quería, he would stop. But in that moment, like, now that I know what I know now, like, addiction is so real and powerful. It's a disease. And I wish I would have known in that time to be a little bit more compassionate. Pero I think it helped a little bit that I took that stance of, si no paras, I'm going to leave forever. And that's when he decided to get real help. And he's like, I want to talk to my mom. I want to get a therapist. Was it a psychologist or therapist?
Yeah, so it was a doctor and a therapist.
How was that
I
for
had
you?
to go through the process of, like, detox, basically. And at the time, the therapist also diagnosed me with depression. So I had to be taking antidepressants and stuff to detox as well. So that whole thing was a whole process. But I know through it all, like, God was with me. Kim, like, she was literally my guardian angel, my family. So
That's so beautiful. You know, es muy... Digo que es muy hermoso ver, you know, cómo él se expresa de ti, porque obviamente en ese momento tú podías saber, like, taking yourself away from that situation because at this point, you guys weren't together anymore. Tú ya estabas haciendo tu vida somewhere else, but obviously, you loved him so much and you cared so much for him que decidiste estar ahí con él. What do you guys feel was like the hardest part? Y te lo comento a ti, Kim, you not dealing with this addiction. What was the hardest part for you to be there for him?
I think not understanding it and kind of just like my mindset. I've never been into a lot of drinking, a lot of drugs. And so to me, it was like, see, why doesn't he just stop, I think the hardest part was definitely my family and friends. Like, I remember even the specific, quote a friend told me, like, he has a lot of baggage now. Like, are you sure you even want to be with him? Like, él tiene mucho que ha vivido and you're barely starting your life. You, like, deserve to be with someone with a clean slate. Like, you're about to graduate high school and you're about to go off to college and do your life, and he didn't even know if he could go to college at this point. So to me that was probably the hardest part, kind of like trying to see Vinny for who he is. But yo siempre desde el principio yo le decía, like, you are not defined by your mistakes, like, and I'm never gonna see you for your mistakes. Para mí, he was always the Vinny that I met from day one, and I could see his heart. And I feel like growing up the way I did with my dad kind of allowed me to give a little bit more, kind of allowed me to be a little bit more compassionate. Like, I've never judged people really hard for their mistakes, even though what my dad did to my mom, even though what Vinny went through, I never was like, oh, ¿por qué hiciste eso? Like, I'm going to look at you a certain way. I know that people make mistakes. We're not perfect. It's everybody's first time living life. So I kind of took a stance of, like, even if my whole friends and family were against me talking to him again, yo tenía the support of his mom. We both wanted him to be better, and we were both like on a mission to make him feel better. And I know that I grew up with God in my life. I grew up as a Christian, and I was like, well, if I can do just one thing, I'm gonna introduce like God into Vinny's life and get that relationship. And that's the only way that I knew to help. So that's the way that I went about it.
So you feel like, bringing God into your life was a big part of, your healing journey, porque nos cuentas que también fuiste a terapia con un psicólogo. ¿Cómo fue, ese proceso de, becoming, the better version of yourself after going through all that you went through?
So it definitely took a lot of time. I was really embarrassed. Everybody in the town, everybody knew what I did, the way I made my family feel, what I put them through, because it wasn't just me going through all this. I had drug Kim, my family, everybody, like their friends were asking them, oh, where's Vinny? How's he doing? What's going on? Everybody wanted to know. So it took a lot of toll on our family as a whole. And like I said, without them, I would not be here to be able to tell everybody my story.
Addiction is something que obviamente pasa más de lo que la gente piensa, and it's something that a lot of people struggle with. You having gone through that, y tú estando ahí con él, what's a piece of advice you can give to those watching that are currently struggling with something similar?
I would honestly say, if you know someone, if you have a friend, a family member who's going through addiction, like, be there for them. I know every situation's a little bit different. Just speaking broadly, like just her being there for me and be like, I'm here for you. You want to talk? Do you need help? Like that just got me through some of the darkest moments that I've experienced in my life. And if I could just say anything, just reach out to them, pray for them. You don't know how you could help them save their life.
And I also feel like addiction's not very black and white. Like a person's not going to come up to you and be like, I'm struggling with addiction. I think you need to look for the signs also, like as a family member, as a friend. If you see someone that's maybe losing their hobbies, they're losing interest in a lot of stuff, they're kind of not
present.
See. If they're just not like, if they're kind of losing their values in themselves, then you kind of realize like, hey, something's going on here. If you see them abuse a substance, maybe it could be like weed, drugs, alcohol. It could be anything that people can struggle in addiction with. So I just say, be there for them and like be that person to like, I'm not going to judge you. Let's get you help. Like right now is not the time to judge, and what's the next step?
Yeah, and I'm so glad que tú tuviste a Kim, a tu familia, a Dios, to be with you, during that journey, porque en verdad te miramos aquí, and I know a lot of you guys at home, a lo mejor que no saben esta parte de tu historia, are a little shocked, but it's also very much, como dices tú, si te pasó a ti, es importante tú hablarlo para que le pueda ayudar a otra persona que lo está pasando, Hablamos de que en ese tiempo you guys started, communicating again, but you had a boyfriend. When did it start becoming like, oh, let's try the relationship again? ¿Cómo empezó la plática de eso?
So basically, even though I had a boyfriend, it's in high school, it's not very serious. Yo siempre to me, nadie comparaba Vinny. Like, I didn't talk to anybody. I just had that one boyfriend, pero para mí, I was like, I miss Vinny. Like, obviously, it wasn't the same. Para mí, Vinny has always been my best friend. Like, the way we joke around with each other, the way we talk, I seriously feel like he's my better half. Y siempre le he dicho eso. So, when we did see that, like, oh, we kind of want to try this out again, me and the boyfriend in high school acabamos, and that's when we decided to give it another go.
Do you guys remember this time how he asked you esta tercera o quinta o 100th time? Porque ya no
Third
sabemos.
time's the charm.
Third time's the charm. How did he ask you that time?
How did I ask you?
I remember it was in the garage.
Oh yeah, I made spaghetti, some dry spaghetti, and
Sin sauce,
sin nada.
So no más noodles. Dry noodles.
Con Parmesan on top.
I'm like, no digas que eso es spaghetti, because that's an insult.
Yeah, and I put lights and everything, and put her favorite song, y le pregunté.
Yeah.
How was it like, obviamente having gone through everything you guys went through as kids in your relationship? Was this time different? Do you guys feel like there was more trust, less toxicity, especially at the beginning? Or was it like kind of, you guys trying to find out where your guys' relationship was at the beginning? ¿Cómo fue eso?
Yeah, so I mean, after going through the addiction, through the recovery, she was there every step of the way, so we felt like we could conquer anything at that point. There was definitely a lot of, things we had to work on ourselves to be able to have that relationship that we wanted, that we needed. And I think just talking through those big moments that I had experienced and that I had brought her into, it really helped just build our bond even deeper. And,
I think it was a little bit harder when we started dating again, porque antes it was just kind of me helping Vinny getting through a situation, but now since we were like boyfriend girlfriend again, I kind of had to deal with the facts that like, oh, él le habló a muchas muchachas, and like to me that hurt me, and I was just like, wait, why would you do that? And again, like I understood the addiction part, but the other part, like the partying,
you're like, ¿por qué? So you dated a lot, like you dated one person, you dated how many people, or did you date a lot during that 2-year gap?
Yeah, it was a lot.
Como 5, right?
Yeah,
or more,
like 5, around 5, yeah.
Cada 6 meses, cambiaba,
No, cada como otro mes.
En tu mente, you're like, no, es mujeriego, he's been with so many. How did you deal with that, and how did you learn to accept it, to be able to have, a healthier relationship with him?
Hold on, I
You're like, I still haven't dealt with it.
I'm still mad.
I'm still dealing with it.
I'm like, actually, let me leave. No, pero to me it was hard because we come from such a small town. So yo conocía a todas las muchachas, and it went from me and Vinny being the only ones to now kind of like having the circle of people. Ya teníamos drama with other people. So it was definitely hard. We had arguments, but I started noticing that pattern again. I was like, if we keep going this way, it's going to end up toxic and we're going to end up the same way. Y ya, I kind of sat down with Vinny and I was just like, okay, I know I've been bringing the past up a lot, but I know if we really want to make this work, we have to forget the past and start brand new. Or si no, the relationship is going to end up the same way. So we kind of both agreed that we're not the same person as we were before. And I was like, okay, let's leave everything in the past. And I think it was a little bit easier since we were so young. Like we were still trying to find ourselves. And it did happen like we were together and not together, so I think that was a little bit harder, but it was easier to forgive and like want to see the future.
Y también es el saber aceptar lo de que lo que no pasó en tu año pues no te hace daño, you know what I mean? Like if you weren't with him when he was dating all these girls, you had to realize like, you know what, he has a past, I do too. Maybe you dated less, but you dated, did he ever have problems with that too or no?
I think for him it was harder because he would say like, for you it's worse because you had one long-term boyfriend. I had like, las mías no importaban, pero el tuyo sí, like, and I was like, but it wasn't even serious, like it was high school.
How long did you date this other person? Like
almost
long?
a year.
Oh, so it was a little bit more serious. Sí. So he was more concerned, like no sé qué has compartido con él, I don't know how serious it is or how serious it got, Nos cuentan un poquito de eso, you guys start dating. How was your guys' relationship with each other's parents? Like did your guys' suegros like each other? Did they accept him, especially after everything he had gone through? ¿Cómo fue esa relación?
Yeah, my suegros did not like me at all. Of course, I had basically broken up with Kim already twice, and they had seen how she had felt after those breakups and everything that I had gone through. They knew the story as well about the drug addiction, going to jail, everything. So of course you don't want your daughter to be with someone like that. Mm-hmm. So they had doubts about our relationship and specifically me. But
like I remember at one point like mi papá hasta me decía, porque this is kind of like when my dad started coming back into my life. We have an amazing relationship now. We all hang out as a family and stuff. Pero me decía mi papá, like, no lo quiero cerca de la casa, no lo quiero ver. And this is like when we were dating, so it was very hard. Like, they knew that we were hanging out and like starting to date, but they did not want it to happen. And so it was very hard to like get on their good side. And I remember it felt like I was kind of being like a rebel again, like back in my teenage years. And I remember thinking like, is this the right decision? Like, I'm gonna mess up my relationship with my family again. But I saw like the way Vinny was, and I remember like telling my parents that I'm like, pero like, don't judge him for his past, like see him for who he is now. Especially since we were so young. Yo les decía a mis papás, like, don't judge, you know, like. Especially, I know my parents have gone through a lot, so I would try to make them see like Vinny the way I was seeing him.
And it's very important que, you know, de tener esa mentalidad, because just as much as your parents have gone through so much, y obviamente tú no los juzgas, you were wanting that same thing for him. You wanted them to accept him for how you accepted him, you know. Después de eso, en un momento, se casan, ¿verdad? Hace 2 años se casan.
Yeah.
¿Qué fue para ti el momento, Vinny, where you're like, you know what, yo quiero estar el resto de mi vida con Kim?
Yeah, so we had been dating for a year and a couple months, and we took a trip to Florida, and we were on the trip, and I remember going down there, I was like, you know, a trip is like a big deal.
It was just even me too.
Yeah, it was just us two. And
Was it your first trip?
Our
first
road
trip
trip.
ever.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, if we can make it through this and it's like an amazing time, then I know.
It's because I feel like in a road trip you can see like people's
It's kind of
real
like you're moving
personality.
in and being with your person 24/7.
Yeah. And it went amazing. Like, we stayed up that night talking, laughing. Like, it was just such an amazing time. And I was like, she's the one. I had always known that you were special. Like, you had a special place in my heart, not only because of what we went through, but because of who you are. And yeah, that just solidified everything.
¿Y cómo le pides matrimonio a ella? How did you ask her to become your wife? Like, how did that roll out? Yo quiero saber detalles.
Oh, you can tell the story cuando hablaste con mi mamá y mi mamá pensaba que estaba embarazada.
Yeah, so
that was my parents' biggest fear.
Like,
que
they thought you were
saliera
pregnant?
embarazada.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I went to my suegra's house and I said, suegra, tenemos que hablar. Well, I didn't call her suegra at the time. But
You're like, suegra already manifested.
Tenemos que hablar. And her face got white. She was like, sí, está bien. We went inside and she was so nervous, I could tell. And I was like, le quiero pedir la mano de Kimberly. And she's like, oh, gracias a Dios.
Pensé que estaba con su domingo 7.
Yeah. She thought we were pregnant, that I was telling her we were pregnant. And I was like, and I want to do it in Greece, because that's where we got engaged, in Greece.
Oh, I didn't know that. Dejaron ese detalle. That is so. Wait, so did you guys end up getting married in Greece too?
No, we just got engaged in Greece, and then we got married in Italy.
Nosotros bien like traveling around the world.
How was that? You know, did your parents at that time ya lo aceptaban o todavía no?
Todavía no, but they were just happy that we were finally getting married. Like, por fin, I think their biggest fear was like, you've gone through all of this y para qué, you know? And now seeing this, like, okay, Vinny's actually being serious, porque la cosa de ellos era Vinny's never gonna want to settle down. They saw him as like a little like F-boy, basically. And but yeah, so finally they saw like, okay, he's serious, like, let's take this for what it is and let's accept this. Al principio creo que no, ¿verdad?
No.
Like,
and now me and my suegra are like socios. We have like our own business and
that's
have a good relationship.
Cómo cambia la vida, ¿verdad?
Yeah.
Cómo cambia, like, and I feel like a lot of couples go through that. Obviously, your parents quieren lo mejor para ti. So, sí, obviamente, es súper normal and it's super understandable de que lo miraron go through so much que their first thought's gonna be like, no va a ser la mejor persona para mi hija. But then after seeing like his growth and seeing everything y seeing cuánto te ama a ti, lo aceptaron. ¿Cómo fue la boda? En Italia. That is crazy.
Yeah, so we had an intimate wedding. It was just our very close family.
It was 17 of us.
Yeah, 17 of us.
I loved it so much porque yo siempre pensaba en una big wedding in Mexico. That was like my dream, en una hacienda, algo grande. Pero, you know, there's always like family dramas. So I was like, I don't know if I want to do that anymore. So one day I talked to Vinny and I was like, I think we should just do like a little getaway trip con nuestra familia, like just our parents and our siblings. And we agreed on it and we took our family to Rome. Y después de ahí fuimos a Venice también. So we kind of like, my family's dream has always been to travel. And, you know, for Hispanic families, it's a little bit more harder, like especially our parents don't know like how to travel, and so I was like, let's take this opportunity and let's take them. So we did a little wedding in Italy, which was a lot of fun.
And it actually rained. We had a rooftop venue at a restaurant, and it actually rained that day. So we had to change it to inside, and at the time we were like stressed out. We were like, ¿Qué vamos a hacer? It's ruined. But it turned into a really intimate moment. Everybody went around, shared like their favorite memories of us, and like blessed us. So it was amazing.
How was it like planning it? Obviously, you know, planning something here is already hard, but planning something in a country that you know nothing of must have been harder. Like the location, ¿cómo encontraron todo eso? Like what went into like the whole planning process?
There's a lot of research.
¿Lo planearon ustedes solos?
Yeah, just us two.
Well, basically me, I had a lot of fun doing it, and I think it was better because it was such a small group. Pues no tan chiquito, no tan grande. For a trip, it's kind of big. But it was 17 of us. To me, I had a lot of fun. I was just like, okay, what do y'all want to do? Yo planeé todo, like what we're going to do this day. And then I just started reaching out to a bunch of like rooftop venues. Y eran como restaurantes, pero yo les decía like how much to rent this place out just for like a little intimate,
like a little moment. Evening. Algo.
And so that's how I found them, and luckily, but they say it's good luck if it rains.
That's
so
true.
Para bien.
Pero de qué es el good luck? What do they say the good luck is?
Like when you get married when it's raining.
If it rains, it's supposed
like
to be
for
good
your
luck
marriage
for,
to last forever.
Sí. I didn't know that. My sister got married 2-3 years ago. Sepa la verga cuando empezó COVID. She got married in February y luego como a las 2 semanas cerraron todo y el día de su boda llovió. But the thing with hers, nomás llovió poquito. And then after, llovió toda la mañana y ya después it was cold, pero ya no llovió. Did it rain all day for you guys?
The whole day. So we had the venue up in the rooftop. We had everything planned, and we had to take it inside, which is, I was a little bit sad about that, but it still worked out. And I feel like that trip is what made my family see Vinny differently. And I feel like we started getting really close after that trip, so I feel like it was for the best.
Obviously, you know, en ese momento, cuando se dieron cuenta que iba a llover, you guys probably panicked. Right, Misa? Like that one TikTok. If you guys were doing TikTok by then, you guys could have done that TikTok.
Yeah,
were you guys doing TikTok then?
Not that much.
Not that much. Nomás era like for fun, you know. Obviamente, llueve. Was there anything else that caused you guys stress at the wedding that now looking back, you guys are like, it wasn't really that big of a deal, pero nosotros lo hicimos grande?
I mean, just like getting everybody over there, because there's people flying in from Mexico, and to...
Oh, sí, también trajimos a mi tía y mi tío de Mexico that we love, so we decided to bring them also.
Yeah, to get like those trips lined up and the Airbnb and everything, it was a lot.
¿Cómo cambió su relación, you know, going from being boyfriend and girlfriend to now being married? Did the relationship change, whether it's negatively, positively? ¿Cómo cambió para ustedes eso?
I mean, honestly, I've never been closer to her. Through marriage, we just grew so much more together on like a deeper level. So I know everything about her, I feel like, and I love her. Like, she's the love of my life, my best friend, and I wouldn't want to be with anybody else.
Yeah, I feel like ever since we got married, it was basically like just getting to live with your best friend, no? Y I've always told them, I'm like, are we ever going to get tired of each other? Porque cada día, I promise you, like, it's like, I don't know, it's like brand new. We have so much fun. I feel like especially right now with everything that we're doing with social media, we've gotten so many experiences and we've gone to grow together. And he's always been super supportive. When we first moved to Austin last year, that's when I lost my job. And I was planning to be at that job for the next 5 years. Like that was like kind of like my security blanket. And I always loved doing social media. So yo le dije, I was like, I kind of want to go all in, pero I don't make any money right now. Like, are you okay with me staying at home and kind of doing social media? Y desde el principio, like, he was like, do it. Like, I support you. And Austin's kind of an expensive city to live at. So just, I feel like having that marriage, we had that comfort of like, hey, I'm going to try this. You support me.
You got my back. Because I feel like it does become a thing where like when you're a couple, like boyfriend and girlfriend, obviously you're there for your partner. Obviously you have their back. But I feel like, obviously, I don't know what it feels like because I'm not married yet. But I would want to assume que sientes hasta con más confianza. You know what I mean? Like, even though you already have all the confianza in the world when you guys are dating, siento que cuando ya se hace oficial, you're like, no, this is my person. Yeah, it's like a new level unlocked.
For sure.
Obviamente, empiezan a vivir juntos. Did you guys live together before getting married?
No, straight up in Austin.
Yeah.
Oh, how was that? You know, ¿cómo fue the transition of not being together to being together all the time? Obviamente dicen mucho que cuando se juntan y viven juntos, you start seeing, you know, cómo son, si se bañan, si son puercos, si son esto. Was that a thing for you guys?
Yeah,
¿Cómo fue eso?
So I like to say I'm pretty clean.
Yeah.
So that wasn't a big deal. Like
Thank
I wasn't leaving like dirty dishes or dirty clothes everywhere. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a change from not living together to being around each other all the time.
I think the hardest part was leaving our hometown together.
Yeah.
Like we left all of our friends and family behind kind of to start this new life because he got the job offer in Austin.
Okay.
That's why we left, which is kind of funny because I ran away from Austin back then, but now we're back.
And you're back there, literally.
Yeah, but that was the hardest part. But again, having each other and relying on each other. And I feel like that made it a little better, like starting off our marriage that way, porque cuando teníamos problemas, no es como que, I'm gonna go to my mom, you go to your mom. We had to work it out. Like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe me voy para el otro cuarto, pero we have to work it out, you know?
Like there's no running anywhere. Did that also affect you guys in the way of like, obviamente se van de Georgia to a whole new city, you know, no conocen a nadie, dejan a su familia, a sus amigos. Was it hard for you guys to adapt and accept that you guys don't have anyone there for you guys in the new city?
Yeah, we were definitely homesick. I think you were a little bit more homesick than me.
I would cry every single day, probably for like 3 months, the first 3 months. I was super sad. Y ya me quería regresar. Like, I would tell Vinny, I was like, let's stay here 1 year and then go back. I was mainly there to support Vinny's job. You know, desde el principio le dije, if you want to take this job, I'm there with you. And we'll see how it goes. And luckily, it's worked out. Pero sí, al principio, it was very hard. Especially, like, I've always been really close to my sisters. I have 4 sisters, so it's a big family. And that's been the hardest part for me, like, being away from them.
Yo ya quiero hablar de lo de hoy. Ahorita los miramos all over everyone's For You pages. You know, ahorita andan con todo lo que da. ¿Cómo empezó todo eso? What made you guys, obviamente nos cuentas de que you lost your job, but what made you guys be like, you know what? I want to start doing content. Quiero hacerlo. Me miro haciéndolo. ¿Cómo empezó todo esto para ustedes?
So I think it was when I lost my job last year, fue in January. So it's been like a year and a few months.
Yeah.
Yo siempre hacía mis TikToks like just for fun, little dances, especially when COVID like
Started,
hit.
yeah.
Sí. But then after I lost my job, I was like, okay, I don't want to work a 9 to 5. Let me give this all that I got. And it took me a little while to find kind of like what I love to do. But ever since then, like it's probably when like in June.
Maybe she started going like hard,
Full
posting TikTok, Instagram,
kind of showing
everything.
like our relationship.
Our relationship, that's what people really like, you know, showing our...
And I feel like I've always been very outgoing and like funny, but I never knew how to show that on social media. So I feel like when I finally got comfortable in front of the camera and I was like, this is me, like this is our relationship, people really enjoyed that. And I think they saw the, you know, our
They were
authenticity.
able to connect with you guys more. Y obviamente por eso empezaron a salir en todos los For You pages de todos. Obviamente al principio, you know, you don't see much money, you don't see much growth in the beginning. Was there ever people around you guys que a lo mejor dudaban de ustedes, or would it be like, no, pon a Kim a trabajar, como de que se queda en casa haciendo videos? Was that ever like a topic of conversation among you guys' friends or family?
So we actually had that conversation between us. We were like, it was like the 3 months in, like we were seeing money every now and then, but we were like, dang, like, is this really what we want to do? And we kept going at it. And I mean, thank God it kept taking off, and we kept going. But from our friends and family, I think they were always pretty supportive.
I think my mom would say a few comments like, ¿cuándo vas a agarrar trabajo? Or like a few friends would tell me like, hey, this job opening, and I'd be like, no,
You're like,
I'm
yo
trying to
tengo
do this.
trabajo.
That's what I'm trying to tell them. I'm like, I'm not making much money right now, pero sí tengo trabajo. And it was probably not till like last August is when it really took off. We've been able to make a living off of it, so it's
Like
been
to
a
the
blessing.
point where you guys are considering it making a full-time job?
See, for
That's
me, it's already
crazy.
my full time, but since he's still like working a 9 to 5, we're still like, okay, should
Trying
we
to
like
figure out cómo hacerle, what's the
find the
right
balance.
move. I feel like it's very, you know, like having people not believe in you is something that's very common, especially with what we do. Yo me acuerdo cuando yo empecé a hacer social media, I started off doing beauty. Ahorita hago de todo. Ahorita hago podcast, ahorita hago lifestyle. But when I first started, if you guys go back to like my Instagram, era puro maquillaje. Like makeup tutorials, I wouldn't even talk. I wouldn't even speak Spanish at the time. I'm talking about like 2015, 2016, 14. Entonces, cuando yo empecé, tuve una collab at Ulta, and me dieron $50,000, right? Para usar mi cara, era mi primer bono.
Yeah.
And tell me why, with that money, I moved out with my boyfriend, nos movimos a nuestro primer apartamento, pero yo pensando que, pues con los $50,000 tenemos para todo el año. You know what I mean? If it doesn't work out, let's move back. Sí. Pero me acuerdo que llegó un momento, I think by like the 5th, 6th month, I had already ran through all that money. Why? Because, you know, it's expensive to move in, you know, buying furniture, everything. Nosotros me acuerdo que habíamos furnished the whole house by the first 2 months. Y furniture is expensive, you know,
Yeah.
2,000-3,000 nomás por los pinches sillones. So me acuerdo que llegó un momento donde I wasn't even doing YouTube at the time. And for me, YouTube is like where I started and where I started making money. And me acuerdo que mi novio me decía, babe, porque él antes hacía más que yo. Él trabajaba en TJ Maxx at the time. Y me acuerdo que me decía, babe, like you literally only made $500 this month. Like, ¿le vas a buscar trabajo? Okay? Like, rent's coming up. Ya me dijiste que ya no tienes mucho en el banco. And I remember cuando me decía eso, yo le decía, no, yo voy a hacer esto, voy a seguir echándole, I'm gonna keep trying, and luckily it worked out. No, imagínate. But it is very scary. Did you ever have moments where you thought, like, maybe this isn't for me, let me fucking go get a job, maybe they are right? ¿Tuvieses un momento tú así?
Yes, I think every single month I struggled with that. Like, yo le decía a Vinny, I think I'm going to start looking for a job again, pero creo que me espanté más de un 9 to 5 que putting myself on social media.
Yeah.
And to me, it was always a little bit hard because of our small town. I always knew that there was eyes on me and kind of judgmental,
Yeah.
you know, y como que, ¿qué está haciendo esta? We come from a very, like...
O se cree famosa.
Yeah, se cree, oh, she's
y aquí en el
Hollywood.
pueblo ni la conoce.
Yeah.
You do start getting in your head, especially because you grow up with so many people around you, like your childhood friends, you know, people you go to school with, that when you start doing social media, it almost gives you some sense of embarrassment, not really for like the people you don't know, but for the people that you do know. You're like, ¿qué tal que me empiecen a juzgar o que manden mi video in the group chat? And everyone's roasting me, you know. Obviamente, you guys start doing social media y nos platicas un poquito de, in August, it starts picking up. ¿Cuál fue el momento para ustedes que dijeron, ¿sabes qué? Social media can become a full-time job. Was there like a big paycheck or a viral moment? ¿Qué fue ese momento para ustedes?
I think we started having a lot of viral moments together, and then I think that's when we knew about the beta program, the TikTok one, since the beginning. Pero ya después de ahí, we learned how to kind of manage it, and we started like blowing up and started making a lot each month. So I was like, honestly, like I started making a little bit more than Vinny, and he was just like, okay, ahora sí, ya me
Ahora sí, I'm starting.
Yeah, you're like, ahora sí, tú te quedas en casa, baby.
Pero ya te
Literally.
mantengo.
Yeah, and that's actually when I started posting a lot more too. So it was like October, November.
Okay.
And since then, yeah, it's been taking off.
I feel, wait, you've only been posting since October? You've been posting longer, right?
For like a year and a few months.
Yeah, I would post here and there, but now I'm posting like every
Like
day.
not more religiously,
Yeah,
like to
yeah.
where you're like, you know what, I'm taking this serious.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
you
back
know?
then it was just kind of for fun, y ahora sí es como que let's
Ahora
get
sí,
this.
ahora es trabajo. Antes era una vez al año, postó algo. Now it's like, no, cada día se
Yeah,
posta.
yeah.
What's your guys' like uploading schedule? Do you guys have an uploading schedule? Like, do you guys feel like, oh, I need to at least put out 10 videos a week?
Right now we've been really busy. Probably like a couple months ago used to be 3 times a day no matter what. Pero ahora we got a management team in January, so that's when it started getting a little bit more structured, and we have like more brand deals and like stuff going on. That's where we really started seeing like a lot more money. Ahora sí como que we're trying to find that balance right now of like, okay, we need to post for ourselves y no tanto like make it I don't know how to say it, like
A business?
A job?
like I want to grow for us,
Yeah.
you know, and not for just like ads and stuff y nada más vendiendo cosas así.
Yeah.
So right now we're trying to find that balance of like,
And I feel like it's a balance que va a llegar en un momento where you guys will have the balance, because obviously when you guys are starting, you guys weren't seeing money, and then you have these brands coming to you with like 5-figure digits, and you're like, wait, no
What's going
mames.
on?
And it's so easy, because yo también me acuerdo cuando empecé a hacer dinero, yo decía, no, pues no tengo que postear tanto en YouTube porque
Yeah.
me están pagando en un post lo que iba a ganar todo el mes. But then again, me too. When I blew up, I was doing YouTube. I was uploading a YouTube video every single day for 3 years straight.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Wow.
And during that time, obviamente ganaba muy bien porque subía tanto, right? So me acuerdo que during that time, I would be like, I'm not doing sponsorships. Why? Porque a mí me da mucha ansiedad.
That's how we were
I would always like reply back to the emails, and I would be like, oh my God, I think I'm asking for too much. And then I would close my computer and I wouldn't reply back after. Like, sepa qué decían las compañías, a lo mejor aceptaban y yo aquí de pendejo pensaba que no. And I remember when, I got a management team. I want to say I got a management team maybe like 4 or 5 years in. I recently got a management, actually, maybe like 3 years back. And I started seeing how much money and how lucrative it is. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you're telling me
losing out.
that I've been losing out on this money, because
Yeah.
it is a lot of money.
Yeah.
A veces te pones a pensar y dices, no mames, ¿de dónde chingados sacan este dinero las compañías?
Sí.
You know, obviamente tú te conocen mucho como codo. How did that come up? Like, are you actually codo? He mirado muchos comentarios que me dicen, pregúntale si en verdad es codo, si es todo un papel. How did that start off?
I think there is some truth to it. You know, I do like to save money. Everybody likes to save money.
No, pero es que I think we told a story time one time on live que when we were in high school, we were obviously both a little bit broke.
Yeah.
Y Vinny me decía como que, okay, yo ya pagué, ahora te toca a ti pagar. And I was like, so I told that story one time on live. Ahora sí, yeah, he stepped up, pero, and then everyone started calling him codo since then, and it's kind of stuck. And it's been funny, like, going along with it. Pero a veces sí es codo.
You have to be. I feel like la gente piensa que cuando uno empieza a hacer dinero han de decir, no, pues, les vale verga gastar en lo que quieran. A veces sí. Like, sometimes you're like, nah, bitch, I'll spend the money. But sometimes you're like, wait a minute. Vale la pena, because sometimes you're like, I don't need to be spending all this money when I can get it cheaper somewhere else.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, obviamente los miramos all over social media. Este fin estuvieron todo este fin de semana en Los Ángeles. ¿Tienen planes de moverse from Texas? Do you guys want to move out to LA ya que son influencer life?
Yeah, we've talked about it, but so this is the first time we're in LA.
First time in California.
In California in general. So we're just kind of seeing how it is. We do like it. We'll have to talk about it for sure.
It's his codo again. He's like, it's so expensive here.
Yeah, it is expensive.
I think, is LA more expensive than Austin? Because I know you guys mentioned
sure.
it's expensive in Austin.
Yeah,
Austin's
for sure.
expensive, pero nothing compared
It's like
to LA.
expensive for Texas.
Yeah, for
right?
Texas for sure.
Because I feel like maybe what their expensive is, maybe it might be cheap out here.
Yeah.
How much is like an average, not what you guys pay, like an average, like a 2-bedroom out there?
Probably like 3,000.
Yeah, 3,000.
Oh, pues no
Like
está tan
downtown.
barato tampoco.
It's going up. I don't know.
Damn,
And that's like on the
in
outskirts.
New York, yeah.
On the outskirts, it'll be like 3,000. Downtown, you're looking at like probably 4,000, 5,000.
Oh, pues casi puede salir igual. Les estaba comentando you guys que si se quieren mover para acá, que se muevan en OCIE area.
Que nos da un cuarto, Alan, he said.
Like upstairs. I'm having it prepared already. No, but it really is like, I feel like 3,000 is still kind of pricey, like Austin prices. Yeah. But I feel like you guys are can be able to find something, if anything, cheaper. Yo me acuerdo que cuando yo vivía en mi apartamento, it was like a 2-bedroom apartment. It wasn't like in the most luxurious place ever. Tampoco. I remember like homeless would always be walking into the fucking apartments. Pero pienso que me cobraban como 1,800. Okay. But we're talking about years ago. We're talking about maybe like 6-7 years ago. Ya ahora sí han de estar así de caras. But I feel like anywhere's expensive. But if you guys, si lo pueden hacer, yo sé que es un sueño. You know, I feel like everyone's dream is like to live in LA.
Everyone's been telling us that like the opportunities here are crazy. And we've been seeing it like ever since we've been here. Ya nos han invitado. Like, come to this event, come to this event. And I'm like, we're missing out on all of these and all of these connections, you know, like getting to meet you, getting to meet Shadi, Wilito, like it's been crazy. So I feel like we wouldn't have that in Austin.
It's because most of the brands and companies están acá, and then everybody also lives over here. So I feel like that's why a lot of people like, oh, LA is the place to be, you know. Hablamos un poquito de TikTok, del Creator Beta Program. Y también lo que hemos estado viendo mucho es del TikTok ban. Is that something that worries you guys? Porque obviamente ustedes, your guys' biggest platform is TikTok. Is that something that you guys are like?
We've had conversations about what we're going to do, and we're like, let's branch out to Instagram, YouTube, follow us.
We've been vlogging a lot more. We definitely do. I feel like where we're at now, it'd be easier to grow on YouTube, you know? Nada más le tenemos que echar ganas and like put ourselves out there, but I feel like we found kind of like our supporters, we found our group, and we just need to keep like
producing content. And I feel like lo van a lograr, you guys. Si TikTok se va a la verga, sabemos en dónde encontrarlos, en YouTube or Instagram. But with that being said, amigas, I really enjoyed you guys being here y platicando conmigo. Ya para terminar la entrevista, les voy a preguntar la última pregunta que les pregunto a todos. ¿En dónde se miran en los próximos 5 años?
So in the next 5 years, we're going to have a family.
Do you guys want to have kids soon? It's all gender reveal.
The big announcement.
Wait, do you guys plan on having kids? ¿Quieren kids? ¿Cuántos?
Yo quiero 3.
Okay.
Vinny quiere 2.
2. So there's been conversations, but right now we're focusing on content, our own personal lives, and definitely grow on YouTube, Instagram, like we said, post every week, every day. And
1 million on YouTube.
1 million YouTube.
Y va a pasar antes de los 5 años. I'm manifesting this, you guys. Come back to this video. I know you guys are gonna hit the milli before the 5 years. I'm like tomorrow. I'm just kidding.
Okay, fine.
Pero ojalá que sí pasa. Sí, I really had an amazing time aquí conociéndolos un poquito más. Thank you guys so much for sharing everything that you guys did. Yo sé que allá en casita también les encantó muchísimo este episodio, because let me just say, whenever I post, ¿a quién quieren ver? ¿A quién quieren ver? Ustedes nunca faltan en los comentarios. Everyone's always like, Kim and Vinny, Kim and Vinny. Pues aquí se los traigo.
No, I just wanted to say thank you for having us here. I feel like this is a big like moment for us, de veras. Like even you made our first trip to LA possible.
Oh, thank
so I just
you.
want to thank you for flying us out por los cuartos. Like, it's been amazing, and I don't know, this is the start of something great, and I think we're still on the smaller side of creators, but for you to see that vision and for you to support us, it means a lot.
Les miro una carrera in this
Manifesting
larga.
it again.
I swear to God. I
Thank you
swear
so
to God.
much.
Like,
That means a
I
lot.
see you guys, you know, growing even more. I see you guys doing great things. Y yo sé que va a pasar primeramente Dios. You know what I mean? So with that being said, amigas, ahí les voy a dejar all their social medias linked down below as well as on the screen so you guys can go ahead and follow them. Y también no se les olvide to follow me on all my social media so you guys won't miss any future episodes. And once again, thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you.
And thank you guys so much for watching and listening. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Yay, you guys are so good.